Well, first and foremost, a big welcome to the show, and thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me on. I'm a big fan.
Via Satellite, the new record, a big congrats. And it's the first new studio album for you guys in a long time. If you take that Choice Picks compilation of re-recordings of greatest hits out of the picture, this looks like almost 20 years.
That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. We haven't released a record in, I guess it's 18 years, but we have not stopped recording and writing and doing little tours, and I guess we're just under the radar, you know. But yeah, it's been a while.
And it's a new world with records, right? I mean, it isn't the same world as when you started with them. People actually bought CDs. Today, you're expecting with Via Satellite, is most of the people buying a physical object, or are they getting a download? How is it working?
Well, I think that it's going to be a physical download, you know, digital streaming. However, for the the collector or whatever, we've done a limited run of vinyl and CDs. I know kids that are buying CDs. My kids are, vinyl. My kids are crazy for vinyl. They collect it. I collect it still. I still have my original vinyl collection from years ago. I have like 4 turntables. So for me, it's fun to have an album, a Rembrandts album out on vinyl. It's just been so long. But yeah, I think it would amount to practically nothing in sales.
Yeah, it's fascinating how it works, and it really depends on the genre too and stuff. My buddy's the manager or tour manager for Hailstorm. You may have heard of, like a modern rock kind of band.
Okay.
And they sell a lot of physical CDs at the shows, and he was just explaining certain kinds of genres, like that hard rocking crowd still buys a lot of objects. Some people do the download. There's kind of a division. I was trying to figure out Via Satellite when I was listening to some of these tracks and then thinking of the title. What's the album name refer to?
Well, it's a lyrical lift from the song "Traveling from Home," and it's that song. It's Phil's genius. It's him kind of relating to how people have millions of friends, but they don't actually ever see them physically. We all sit with a computer on our lap talking and, Instagramming and doing all this stuff, but we're just really disconnected. And so that's part of the song. And then there was this great line that I really latched onto, and it to me, it reminded me of how Phil and I make records from afar. I mean, he lives in Nashville. Up until 2 years ago, he lived in Minneapolis. I'm in LA. So we make records via satellite. We, blast digital files back and forth, and, I'll put on a part, he'll put on a part. And and then the line, I believe, is we beam live via satellite from Portland to the Cumberland Gap. So that's a good idea for a title for the record.
And it's double. I get that. It's kind of like two meanings, because as you're talking about the recording process, more and more can be done thanks to technology from remote locations, but also the remote nature of people's relationships and communication. I dig that. Another one on there was the Broken Toy. I was trying to decipher. Very catchy. That's a neat thing about you guys. And again, it's Danny Wilde from the Rembrandts talking about Via Satellite, their new record, and 25th anniversary with their connection to the Friends show. I was listening to Broken Toy and just thinking, like, it's just so catchy. You guys have a knack for writing these really hooky driven songs. What's that one about?
Well, let me just first say that I'm glad that I don't have to sing that one. That's Phil, because it's a tongue twister. He has a hard enough time. So why do you write songs that you have a hard time singing live?
Sure.
It's about a failed relationship. Phil sort of sees the funnier side of it, and can take a punch. And the Broken Toy, I think, is a sort of a Pinocchio reference.
And how about Me and Fate, which is another one of these catchy tunes on the record?
Me and Fate, we're pretty good friends, yeah. What I can tell you about that song, I'm actually standing in the studio right now at my house here in California, where we cut that one, and it was just an idea that Phil had. He started riffing on this Me and Fate thing, and I got my Pro Tools rig going, which is what we record on nowadays. and plugged in, got a little click track going. I picked up the bass. We started playing. He started singing, and we wrote that song in, it was about 30 minutes, and recorded it all except for the drums within about an hour and a half. We just, everything was within arm's reach, the piano, the harmonica, and, several vodkas and sodas. So
got to have that material to keep the inspiration flowing.
You get thirsty making rock.
And that's a great insight into the recording process. Maybe we'll have similar insight from you on, but before your connection to the Friends TV show, you guys did have a huge hit in 1990 with your song, That's Just the Way It Is, Baby, which you guys recorded a lot of that album in your home studio, right? Isn't that the case?
Yeah, my original home out here in a town called Thousand Oaks was just about a mile from where I'm sitting right now, and I had a little garage studio. Phil came out to visit me for about 2 weeks. We weren't actually the Rembrandts at that point. We were just good buddies, and we had been in a band earlier in our lives called Great Buildings, and out in L.A., and he moved back to Minneapolis. So he came out to hang out with me for a couple of weeks, and we just started writing, and Just the Way It Is, Baby was one of the songs that we came up with. And I think that we pretty much knocked 2/3 of the record out within that 2-week period. We just had tons of ideas.
That's one of those tunes, whenever I'm at the convenience store near my place, that thing always is on. I think it must be like the timing. I must go in there at the same time that the loop comes back around. That's Just the Way It Is, Baby. But I'll be reaching for the half and half.
We have Vaughn's here on the West Coast, and I think the sister company, I can't remember what it's called when we go to Maui, but yeah, we're big in the grocery stores. Yeah, I think we should do like a grocery store tour.
I have
some other buddies, like in the Gin Blossoms, friends of mine that I write with Jesse from Gin Blossoms all the time. And he goes, dude, we're killing it at Vaughn's.
Right, you're number one at 7-Eleven.
Yeah, man.
And when you guys, you've mentioned this, and that was back in 1990 that the tune came out. 89, I guess, that you guys were putting it together.
Yeah.
How did you guys first become a band? Was that it? Basically, hanging that time?
No. I've known Phil since the mid-'70s. I was in a band in L.A. called The Quick, and he and his buddies from Duluth, Minnesota came out. They had a band called Loose Change, and we were both playing the L.A. Hollywood circuit together. And when I left The Quick, I started a band called Great Buildings with Phil. And so we put out one record for Columbia in 1979. And, it wasn't really, I wouldn't call it a success. And the band broke up in 82, and Phil moved back to, not back to, but he moved to Minneapolis. And then we still stayed in contact. In fact, my first solo album, he's the guitar player on it. So he came out to help me out with that. And just about 7 years passed before we got together in 89. And I had done 3 solo albums, and then we got back together. In the meantime, I had produced some demos for Phil. So we never really lost contact. We were, showing each other our ideas. And then in 89, we kind of, on this writing trip that Phil came out for, that's when we decided that this is something. So we call it Rembrandts.
Yeah, so you're saying the relationship between you two cats goes back 40 years, and then the band itself kind of started in that 89-90. Well, that's really cool. And
exactly.
And in terms of the marketing, originally, Danny, was it marketed as like a pop band, an indie rock pop, or alternative? Like, what kind of radio in 89-90 was supporting it when that song first came out?
It was alt rock.
Okay, so that's who was playing it, because it was
guys that were playing like Michael Penn,
Lemonheads.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
We were having a great amount of success with that, and it felt really good. I mean, the difference between nowadays and back then is Just the Way It Is, Baby. The label Atco at the time, I mean, they literally worked that song to radio I remember from Christmas to Christmas, it was almost a year, and it finally broke. I mean, like it broke big, like top 10 or whatever. I think it was top 13 CHR, but it was already a number one, like on the alternative charts or whatever. But I mean, that stuff doesn't happen nowadays.
Right. It made that matriculation, you're saying, into different formats. I can remember a few other bands, Third Eye Blind, all kinds of stuff had that sort of, that was an interesting path that as alternative became much more mainstream at that time. And still before the Friends Association, you guys ended up having a track in the Dumb and Dumber film, right?
Right, yeah, Rolling Down the Hill.
How did you end up, that seems to be, I mean, obviously the Friends thing, which we're about to talk about in a second, is a gigantic thing. But I mean, even getting a song into a movie, like how'd you pull that off?
Well, that was our guy at Warner Chappell, the publishing company, Brad Rosenberger. His job was to get movie placements. And, we didn't, I mean, our manager, I'm sure, was in contact with them because movie placements are can be lucrative. We had like a Coca-Cola thing that we actually turned down, but there was, once in a while something would come by us, but that one, when we found out about it when it was already done. So, but yeah, that would have been Brad at Warner Chappell. And you're getting it in the movie.
Were you stoked though at the time? That had to be a big feel good. Be like, wow, we're in a movie. Jim Carrey movie.
Absolutely, yeah. We got a couple of other placements too along the way. I think it was a Kirk Douglas movie that was kind of fun that we got some songs in, or a song in. But the Dumb and Dumber was like, yeah, this is killer. I mean, because the movie's iconic and. We didn't know it at the time, but we knew Jim Carrey was fantastic. So,
what was the Kirk Douglas movie?
God, I can't remember.
Wow.
Let me IMDb it.
That's crazy though because when I was researching.
Oh, you know what it was? We did. Money don't get everything. It's true.
Oh yeah.
For the Kirk Douglas movie. Yes, it was a cover. It was the Ray Charles cover.
Right, but which movie? But you don't know the name of the movie.
Okay, you're gonna make me look for it.
No, I'll look for it later to fill it in. But I was just curious if
I'm gonna look for it anyway.
I figured you would know, being the guy who benefited from it.
I know. Let's see, the Rembrandts. Anyway.
Yeah, just Google Rembrandts Kirk Douglas. It should come up right away, right?
Yeah.
What a weird world, huh? When it started, you couldn't do something like that.
I know, right?
In 1989, can you imagine being able to do that?
Via satellite, Rembrandt's Kirk Douglas, no results found. Anyway, maybe it wasn't Kirk Douglas.
But the big song that and it's 25 years ago. What, this month that Friends started? What's the connection to this month? Is that or just now?
I think that you were talking about the TV show.
Yeah.
The TV show 25th anniversary is this September and fall because that's when all the fall shows come out. Yeah. What's the question?
So your biggest tune, I'll Be There For You. It's got this, and when I was reading about it, it's got a fascinating story. It's connected to radio in a portion of it, and people in radio doing something. So I was hoping you could talk about its origins and how it began, both the writing of it and how you even got the chance to get it as the theme song for Friends and the impact of that radio station in Lebanon, Tennessee, looping the original.
So who was that guy that did that? Because I just got off the phone with somebody else and I was embarrassed I couldn't remember his name.
I don't have the name, but it's WYHY in Lebanon, Tennessee.
WYHY. Thank you very much, WYHY. Okay, so we get a phone call on a Wednesday. I know this story like the back of my hand. From our manager, Kevin Bright, the creator of the Friends show, is a Rembrandts fan and would be interested in, cutting a song, co-writing a song for a TV show that he was working on. And we said, well, sure. So the next day, which is a Thursday, we got together with Michael Skloff, the music director, out at my studio in Thousand Oaks, and we kind of bunged out the idea. He had basically the first verse, the chorus, all the lyrics. Phil came up with the riff, and that was it. And Saturday we went into a studio in Van Nuys and cut the 42-second version, which was, for the show. That's all he needed. And then the guy, at WY, the show's a hit, and the DJ at WY, blah, 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 whatever it was.
YHY.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and was it Nashville?
It was, according to the Wikipedia page, and I preface that, Lebanon, Tennessee.
Okay, Lebanon, Tennessee. He recorded it off the TV and looped it a couple of times and started playing it. And the requests were going crazy for it, apparently. And then it started to go viral, other radio stations all over the United States. So then the record company, their infinite wisdom was, hey, guys, go in the studio and record a full version. So we got Michael Skloff, the other people from the TV shows, Blessing, went in, wrote a second verse, bridge, instrumental, and did I think it's like a 3.5-minute version, and stripped it into our album, which, by the way, I should back up a little bit, was scheduled. It was already in the can. It was scheduled for release, I think about 6 weeks from the time that we had actually gone in and recorded the Friends TV version. So we stopped the presses, stripped in the long version as a hidden track at the end of the album, and it just blew up.
The original edit was not going to be on the record, though. That 42-second thing wasn't going to be on that album, was it?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so so the song didn't exist as a public release?
No.
And it was because, so you did it for the show, like you explained, then it's on, the show debuts, the show is running, this gentleman at the radio station watches the show, says, I like this tune, I'm going to record it, loop it, play it on the air. And so if that hadn't happened, I mean, basically the song was just going to be for TV, but because of that, it ends up...
Well, I mean, the request lines were blowing up.
Incredible.
To hear is there a longer version of that song that we can hear on the radio?
Was he playing the 42-second one and then decided to loop it, or did he looped it first?
That I don't know.
What a great thing, though. I mean, what?
Question. I have no idea.
What a connection.
First I heard of it was there's a guy at a radio station that has chopped together the TV theme, and it's blowing up all over the United States.
Must have really been something. And then the video of the song features the cast members of the show. Now, take us, when that is getting filmed, how big is the show yet? Was it still on it still wasn't there yet? I mean, because I'm looking at that, Jennifer Aniston looks so young, like you can hardly even recognize her.
You know what? We didn't know who they were. They didn't know who we were. We were probably bigger than they were at that point, from Just the Way It Is Baby or whatever. But it was obvious that something was happening because we had to reschedule the shoot in New York 2 or 3 times because Schwimmer couldn't make it or something. So there was already some star stuff going on. And but by the time we got there, I should also mention that there was a whole scripted. There was something with a fish and all this, something was supposed to happen, and people had lines and acting and all that crap, and it just basically went out the window, and we just had a free for all. So that was kind of what you see in that video.
Oh wow! So they had an idea for it, and then they just blew out the idea.
Yeah, I felt bad for the director.
That's it.
Yeah, it was just we all met in a hotel room on the eve of the shoot, and I was like, okay, this is all good, and everything went out the window the following day.
Were they nice, aloof? What were they like as people?
Oh no, they were great kids. Yeah, they're good hang.
And over the years, again, we're flashing in Rembrandts, and it's a big month for them because 25th anniversary of the show Friends happening now, and of course their song a big part of that. Have there been reunion events over the years where you ever got to interact with those folks again, or been part of the Friends franchise?
Oh yeah, I mean the what do you call it? The ending of the show, the grand finale, whatever you call it. They had a big party in Hollywood, and we performed with Sheryl Crow at it. Yeah, it was a rap party, I guess. And then on the 20th anniversary, they did this Central Perk pop-up in Manhattan, where for 2 weekends they recreated the set of the Central Perk, and we were sort of a central part of the entertainment portion of that pop-up. And what else? And then they're doing that again for the 25th anniversary, which is this September, as I mentioned. And we've been asked to do one, I think, in L.A. It's getting bigger. They're doing one in L.A., New York, I think Chicago, San Francisco, and we're going to be a part of that as well.
Actors and stuff at these, or?
Well, I didn't. We were, we didn't hang out the whole time. I heard that some of the cast was there. We actually Phil and I became really good friends with James Michael, the guy who plays Gunther, and so we hang out all the time now.
Wow! As a result of doing the shows,
yeah, doing the pop-ups.
I love that. Well, there you go. What a cool thing!
Cool.
I was going to ask that if any relationships developed from it, and obviously one has there. You're also doing.
I haven't been invited out to Jen's house in Malibu yet, so
Jen Aniston's house.
Yeah.
You're still waiting for that one. Never got to know her.
I'm not really waiting.
I hear you. Sail Across the Sun. It's a cruise coming up next year now, and this is Train's event that they do.
Yes.
Yeah? Have you done this before?
I've never done it.
Have you done any of these? I look at these and I I'm get a little frightened. I'm like, I don't know if I want to be on a boat like that, period, but I don't know if I want to be there with a whole bunch of rock fans who are...
Well, I mean, I've done a couple of cruises, if you live in L.A., you can do the 3-1 down to... Ensenada and all that stuff. It's kind of fun. We take the kids when they were younger, but it's not really my thing. But it was an honor to be asked to do it. There's a lot of cool acts on and it's only 3 days, so I can handle that.
Yeah, no, you're in and out. I like that.
We've done some shows with Train before, and Phil's good buddies with those guys. So it's going to be fun.
You wrote and performed the theme song I read for a Chinese version of Friends.
Oh, my God. How did you know that?
Well, because I'm supposed to read up and study about you before we talk, so I did a little...
So here's how that happens. You have a guy who's called a music supervisor, and I also have a company called Dog Walk Music, and it's a jingle company, basically, for your listeners out there. I think everyone knows what a jingle is. And I do a lot of commercial work, and so I have a whole library of jingle-type music, little, 40-second, 30-second, 15-second pieces of music that several music supervisors around the L.A. area have access to my library, and that is how that ended up in the Chinese thing. It wasn't really written for it. It was a piece of music that was written prior, and they liked the way it sounded. So, but I guess it was a Friends sort of knockoff thing, which... Maybe that's how I got the gig. They go, the guy from the Rembrandts.
Right. No, they're trying to get a little piece of the original success. Who can blame them, right? And as we wrap it up, have you played Hawaii, and when are you going to be visiting us? Yeah,
we played. Unfortunately, it's been too long since we played Hawaii, but we did the Hard Rock New Year's Eve. I think it was in '96 in Oahu. I would love to come over there and play. We're working on a tour of the states, the contingent states, and maybe Hawaii will be in that mix, but it's not going to happen until spring. In the meantime, November, we're meant to go over to the UK and do 7 or 8 shows, just acoustically, kind of Simon and Garfunkel-y, if you will. But yeah, we're gearing up. I'm kind of going to rest a little bit before we have to go out and kick it.
Well, man, I would think it would be great if you made a return. You guys should check in, and I'll make a mention to them. The Blue Note out here books all kinds of different stuff, way beyond typical Blue Note fare. Everything from the Wailers and Black Uhuru and Maxi Priest to David Crosby, the Yardbirds. I mean, it's a wide range of material that comes through there. And some younger acts. Variety. Mark Cohn played there. I mean, it's a real mix of stuff. So it would be a great venue. Plus, we have a nice studios, and your material, Danny. They can really take the Rembrandts material acoustic in a remarkable way. So it'd be great to have you visit us too.
It would be great to do that, man. All of the above, yeah.
Well, we'll keep it in mind. I'll put the bug in some people's ear out here because it would be a easy venue, right? One quick flight and you're here. A couple acoustics, you could probably do it as a acoustic show. Who knows? But it's been a thrill to talk to you today. It's Danny Wilde.
You too, Dave.
Via Satellite's the new record, Rembrandts, and it's out now. And they're celebrating 25 years since their huge placement as the theme song for one of the biggest TV shows of all time, Friends. And we got to hear the remarkable story of how they made that one, I'll Be There For You. Hope you had fun today. I appreciate this, man.
I did, Dave. Thanks so much. Aloha, it's Danny Wilde of the Rembrandts. There's no better way to spend the afternoon than here with our old friend, Dave Lawrence.
Well, I give you a hug, a high five. You're an awesome guest, and Melissa's a wonderful person. I've actually met her. She's been here in the studio that I've been talking about that we have.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she's been here with her kids and stuff and her husband. So,
cool. Well, great, man.
So please be safe, and I will put a bug in Stephen Ben Susan, who owns the Blue Note chain. I'll mention it to him because I'd love to have you guys out here. And I mean it. You guys write and play some catchy stuff. So I'm wishing you a lot of luck,
Dave.
buddy.
I really appreciate it. All right, buddy. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.